Spring is slowly making an appearance, which means that there's lots of exciting things happening in the garden. I have a rhubarb that is going strong and a bunch of trees that are getting ready to bloom. In addition to that, I have a lawn that is full of random flowers that are blooming at different times in the season. I actually cut my grass quite late in the season just because they're blooming all the time, and I think it's nice to look at, and I also think it's nice that the insects can come and do their thing. Now, this year, for some reason or the other, it seems that I have quite a lot of dandelion flowers, so I thought, okay, maybe I can just pick a small amount and do some dyeing experiments. And that's what we will be doing today. I have a bunch of wool and already spun yarn, and I thought I would experiment a bit. I have this Norwegian wool that I spun up some while back. This is Southdown fiber. This is the first yarn I ever made. It's so precious to me, but you know what? Use your things, don't hoard them. So I'm gonna dye this, and then this is some mohair. I also have a bunch of onion peels, so I think I might mix things up. We shall see, but this is what I want to do today. Here we are. I want to make a dye concentrate, so I think I will start with the rhubarb leaves first, boil that up, and then I will remove them and then add everything else as I go. Oh, maybe I should turn this on. That's been simmering for a while now, so you see it's nice and green now. I'm happy with that, so I'm just gonna take that out. I will let this simmer for a while. And while that's doing that, let's plan this out. I've separated the wool into three, and the first batch will just be the rhubarb and the dandelion flowers. The second batch will be rhubarb, dandelion, and onion peels. And then the last one will be the same thing, but I will add some iron to it. So then we'll be able to see the differences, and it'll be the same fiber. So I think the comparison will be much better. Now, I'm not quite sure if I will have enough dye stuff for the rest of the yarn I showed you, so it might just be that the rest of the yarn will get dyed with the onion peels, and that's okay. I think I'm mostly interested in this because I'll be able to see the difference and then find out what I like best. I've taken about 400 milliliters of the solution here, and then everything else is in the pot. Essentially, this is just acting as my base, and I will be just adding extra stuff to whatever is left and then see what kind of colors I get. I do have way more than I need in here right now, maybe, but that's fine because this is my base and I can just blend this with whatever is left over. Anyway, let's get to the dyeing. This has been soaking, so it's ready to go. Yeah, that looks like a brownish yellow. That has been going for a while, and I can tell it's a very mild color. Okay, I am just going to put all of the onions in here. And now wait. It's quite dark in there now, so I'm going to remove the onions. I'm sure I could even get a bit more ink with this, not ink, dye. But I'm just gonna take it out now. Ooh, that's very nice. I think I may even add a little bit more just to make sure. And like I said earlier, it doesn't matter if I don't use everything up here now because I will then be adding the iron on whatever's left over, so it all works out. It all works out. Yeah, well, I guess I should be putting all of this in there, or at least a little bit more. I want to reserve some just in case. That's not bad. It all fits nicely in there. That's actually pretty dark already, so I'm going to take this out. Now, I actually think I have enough for the rest of the yarn I want to make. This onion dye, I think it's very strong actually, so let's just get started because it's going to take a while and not everything is going to fit in here. But this time, I want to mix some of the iron. This is actually liquid iron in supplement form. Whatever, we're just gonna go for it. Let's do this. Let's do this. It's actually a brown color. Maybe slightly hints of red. I mean green. That actually starts to look black. That's interesting. Well, maybe that wasn't a good idea after all, but that's what experiments are about. I do have some copper solution that I could add in here, but I don't want to do that. And now I'm not even sure if I want to add my nice hand spun in here. It's not bad, it's just I was going for green. The original plan was to play around with natural dyes and see what sort of variations I could get with stuff I already own. I also wanted to do a small project in the end just to keep all of these things together and hopefully use that as inspiration for a larger project. And now in that process, I went on a side quest and down a rabbit hole and I found Solo RPG. That is solo role-playing games. How I got there, I'm not quite sure. It could be because I've been listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl. I don't know. And at this point, it doesn't matter because I am invested. And so the more that I look at the stuff that I dyed, I'm realizing that I don't have large enough quantities to do anything practical, and this wool here would be perfect to spin really, really, really thin, make it into string, wax it, and then use that to make myself a leather pouch that I can use to store my dyes. I have random stuff here that's just floating around, and wouldn't it be nice to have it in a nice self-made pouch? So I think this is quite perfect, especially because the colors really fit the scrap leather that I have, and I just can't imagine making anything else from this. I mean, what am I gonna knit with this? A granny square? What am I gonna use that for? I like to make practical things. So let's do that. Oh, but maybe I should show the results before I continue spinning this stuff. Let's start with the rhubarb dandelion. It's a tan color. I would say it's more tan than yellow. Then this is the same, but then I've added the red onion peels. And then this is that, but then I added the iron modifier, which was basically 3-4 drops of iron supplements diluted in quite a lot of water, and it had a potent effect. So that was interesting. And then I also have the mohair and the Norwegian wool, and this is basically the same as this. It's the red onion peels, the rhubarb, and the dandelions. So this came out a lot more brighter. These two are a bit more dull, and the mohair I think turned out a bit more brown, but it's very shiny. This is very nice. I didn't manage to dye my hand spun, and this was because I only had this color left, and when this came out of the bath I was like, I don't like this. There is no way I'm gonna put my precious hand spun in there. But then when it dried out, it was like, wow, this is a very beautiful green color. I regret not dipping that in the bath. So that was that. But this is what we have now, and I actually wanna spin this up into thread size and then use this to make my pouch. Let's go. And I'm gonna use my antique wheel because I feel that I can get the best results with this. I haven't managed to spin very thin yarn with my newer wheel, but I think I'm just using the wrong whirl. I also have to keep in mind that the new wheel just goes so smooth, and it's harder to go slower and control the thickness of the yarn than this wheel, for example, because it is old and it has its quirks, and I have to be more careful with it, and I think that results in me just spinning thinner yarn. And that was that. I'm very satisfied with the final results. I'm really liking the color and the overall thickness, and it came out really nice and even. I can't believe still that I managed to do this with this old wheel, but there you go. With enough practice, I managed to make something beautiful like this. And again, the quantities are so small that I don't think I could have used this for anything else, so I'm very happy I thought about this project. So I wanted to store my hand spun thread in a nice bobbin, and I had some leftover pieces from a previous project that I could use to make something that looks like a bobbin. I had these 2 round pieces that were meant to be toy wheels, and all I did was drill larger holes, and then I tapered off the ends of those sticks to make something that looks like a bobbin. Okay, so I've decided to go for a circle bottom and then a tubular shape that will just go around the circle, and then the drawstring will go somewhere here. My circle is 6 centimeters in diameter, and that's because I need about half a centimeter in seam allowance all around. So in the end, it'll end up being 5 centimeters. And the circumference of that 5 centimeter in diameter circle will then be the width that I will use here when I sew it around. But again, I need to have a little bit extra on the sides because I need enough space to both punch the holes and then sew it in. I will sew it in inside out, and then we'll just take it from there. Now, when I do it this way, I won't be able to feature my nice yarn. I'm not quite sure if I will use that to put everything together, or if I'll end up doing some decorative stitch with this along the top so that I can see what I've done here. But I think it's just best to get started, so let's go. So what do you think? I think it looks great. It looked even better with that role-playing outfit I was wearing. It's just perfect. The only thing I might change is the cordage here. I just cut up a thin piece of leather, but they do sell lace specifically for these purposes, but it's no big deal. Maybe I'll change it, maybe I won't, but that's it. It's really giving me medieval vibes, which is what I was going for. Coincidentally, I did go to a medieval festival a few days ago, and I went there before I finished this pouch, and that was great because I was able to get a lot of inspiration and I was able to see the other designs that were available. And I did see one that I almost made something like that, but in the end I ended up going for something like this. The other design, I think what they do is it's a circle and then you punch holes around the circle and then just have a drawstring, so then the design is a little bit more round, and that's great. It looks great. I really like how it looks. But if we're talking about coin purses, and if we're taking our role-playing character seriously, we want a purse that is secure. I mean, the only way somebody's gonna steal my coin is if they rip this off my belt, because otherwise, like, you will have to have pretty long fingers to reach all the way at the bottom, whereas the other purses, I feel like the opening is so wide and loose that somebody can just go like that and like steal your coin, or your stuff can fall out, and we don't want that. We don't want that. This seemed a bit more realistic for me, but still, I really like the other design. I may still make it. Other than that, I saw a bunch of other interesting stuff. They had hand-dyed yarn, and they had leather, all sorts of leather accessories, from shoes to belts to medieval pouches, like those that are a bit larger and you stick across your belt. Not something like this, but something a bit larger. And they had all sorts of stuff. I did buy a few trinkets, but I tried to keep it at a minimum. I almost bought some linen. They were selling it per the meter, but you know, buying fabric is like buying yarn. It's probably even worse because it's more expensive. If you don't have a plan for it and don't know exactly the amounts you should be buying, I feel like you're just making a mistake. So I had to walk away and just keep it in my list that I would like to make something out of linen. Maybe I will develop my character a bit more and have a specific outfit to accompany this. Anyway, I'll leave you with some footage from the festival. Thank you for watching. See you next time.